Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Baby Lock. Baby Lock is all about the love of sewing and sharing that love with you and everyone in the sewing community. Turn to Baby Lock to find inspiring projects and videos to teach you new techniques and to help you get the most out of your sewing machine. Baby Lock encourages you to connect with them and others in your sewing community, to share where you find inspiration, what you love to sew, and how you create. Visit babylock.com to learn more.
Hi, welcome to Sewing with Threads, the monthly podcast by the staff of Threads magazine. I'm Editorial Director Sarah McFarland, and I'm joined by our Senior Technical Editor, Carol Fresia.
Hi.
And today we're going to talk with Marcy Harriell, known as Una Baluna to those who follow her sewing exploits. Welcome, Marcy.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Marcy is an actress, a singer, and a writer. She's best known probably for some appearances on Broadway, and you starred in the Tony Award-winning musicals In the Heights and Rent. And you're very well known in the online sewing community. You have a very popular blog, Una Baluna, and you showcase your fashion designs and handmade wardrobe. And you are the host of Re-Fashion, a show about sewing and fashion on NBC's Blueprint. And you've been featured in Threads and Molly Makes, and you create videos for your own YouTube channel. And I'm particularly excited to talk to Marcy today because Marcy is also a digital ambassador for Threads. And that was, it was a long time in the making, but a recent announcement. So welcome, Marcy.
Thank you. I'm very, very glad to be working with you all again.
Thank you. Now, every new guest on Sewing with Threads gets asked 5 questions, and Carol has the questions.
Okay. And welcome, Marcy. I'm delighted that you're a digital ambassador, by the way. It's going to be a lot of fun. People are going to love your posts. So let's help everybody get to know you a little bit more. Question number 1 is, who taught you to sew?
I taught myself to sew, and I taught myself very badly at first, but I had great fun doing it. I taught myself on the internet and with vintage books and with the pages of Threads magazine and with Berta Styles' website. A couple of friends of mine had said that they watched people like me learning how to sew, and it looked like the blind leading the blind, but we got through it.
That's actually a very good story. I think it's encouraging for everybody out there.
I mean, you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere.
Exactly.
I have a sub question. Was there a particular garment or something that you saw that you had to make that inspired the start of this journey?
It was more that I would see fabric and I had to have it on my body in some form. I didn't even know in what way I wanted it on my body. I just knew that was the thing that I needed. And I sort of grew up just shopping for inexpensive clothing with my grandmother. I would say that she maybe taught me how to sew because she taught me my love of clothing as something more than just something you put on your body. And so the fabric is really what got me, because I would get things on those shopping trips to the mall with my nan that did not look good on me, but the fabric was the thing.
Okay, so we're going to ask you a question this sometimes stumps people, but we'll see what you have to say. What is your favorite sewing term?
Well, I have 2. I love sewist, which is a controversial term, and I think that's just because as an actress, I like a little drama. But my favorite sewing term that's definitely here to stay is ease. I love saying it. I love thinking about it. Recently, I've come to love actually adding it to my garments rather than fitting them within an inch of their lives until I can no longer breathe and eat and walk around in it. Ease is my favorite.
That's actually a very good one. And you're right. We have been talking about sewist. It was just in apparently the New York Times for the first time yesterday. So There's been discussion about it. Yeah. So what are you currently sewing?
Oh, currently I'm sewing a few things that I can't talk about because they might be appearing in the Threads digital ambassador field pretty soon. Okay. But I am sewing a gold denim motorcycle jacket because currently we're based in New York, but currently we're in Arkansas, which is where Rob, my husband, is from. And in our short little break, we didn't really think ahead to packing anything more than summer clothing. And so we're sort of trying to beef up that part of the wardrobe. And I brought a half-finished denim jacket that I just couldn't finish for some reason, for whatever reason. I thought to throw that in the suitcase, not a sweater, but I did think to throw a half-finished gold denim jacket in the suitcase. So that's up next for me.
Well, that is what I would call the mark of the real sewist, when they throw in a half-finished garment rather than something practical that they can put on right away.
Yes, something that could actually protect you from snow and rain and sleet. Yeah.
So what is your favorite fabric to sew?
I don't like to pick favorites and say them out loud, because I'm the kind of person that humanizes everything and thinks that the rest of the fabric will get jealous if they hear me say it. But if I had to pick, and I'll say it very quietly, I love to work with wax print in the warmer months, which in fact I'm wearing right now because all we brought was the warmer month clothing. And in the colder months, I love brocade. I love it so much. I love that you can work with either. I think I love fabrics you can work with either side of, because I'll often use the reverse side of the brocade. I think it's just as fascinating as the right side. And wax print, you can definitely use both sides. Yeah. It's so saturated. Yeah.
That's interesting. That is not the usual way that people describe they don't break down the categories like that it's reversible, but that's a very good way to think about it. Okay. And finally, what do you love most about sewing?
I love everything about sewing, but I think something that I really love and which most people don't love is pressing. I love it when the steam of my iron magically transforms the garment. I mean, maybe a slightly wavy hem. I mean, it doesn't always fix that, but it does a lot for it. Understitching and then pressing that faced hem in, it's like magic. I don't know why people run away from pressing. It's like a magic trick right under your fingers on your fabric.
I actually agree with you on that. I think that when people learn to sew, they don't understand that you spend at least as much time at the ironing board as you do at your sewing machine, and probably as much cutting too, but cutting feels like you haven't gotten anywhere yet, whereas the pressing part is where you see what you've done.
Yeah, you really start to see it come to life. And I mean, I just said this in a video, like 80% of sewing is not sewing. You know, it's everything else that goes along with it. So you got to enjoy all of it.
You have to.
Yep. Try to.
That's right.
Yes. I was watching one of your videos, Marcy, and you had this great pressing pad. I think it's like yellow plaid and quite raised. Do you have a big collection of pressing tools?
I have more than I guess I realize. I guess I do. That pressing pad is a tabletop ironing board, which I got because I wanted people to be able to see closer up, you know, what I'm doing pressing. I've got a giant ironing board, which doesn't have a little ironing, what do you call it? Little place where you put the iron, little metal thing, because I want as much real estate on the board as I can get. But I've got another board that does have a holder. I've got press cloths and I've got felt pads. And I guess I do have a lot more pressing tools than I think I do. Although I did not bring my tailor's ham and seam roll with me, which is like, what? That's like not packing your toothbrush and your contact lenses.
I know. We'll have to send you one. You definitely need those to work with.
Yes.
So if it's okay with you, I would love to talk. Well, you know what? They'll be out already when this airs, your series for us. And you started with a series that mimics or pays homage to Diana Vreeland's series. Let's see. Was it in Harper's Bazaar that she had?
Harper's Bazaar.
Yes.
In the 1930s, 1936. Yeah.
And
she was outlandish. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was called Why Don't You?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you come across that series?
I love Diana Vreeland, just about everything about her. I love her great scrawled memos to everyone in the office and typed fragmented sentences. I don't know if you know this about me, but writing a coherent, through line in a post is not really my style. So I think that Vreeland's mode of writing and of speaking to people and of looking at the world and what she puts on her body. She'll even write about, a sweater always looks better when you turn it the other way around. And this is something I do all the time in my sewing. I'll be making something and I'll think that doesn't look right. And then I put it on backwards and suddenly a light bulb goes off and I'm able to see where it needs to go next. So I love her in general. And when I came across the Why Don't You column during this time, during this 2020, this upside down year, I thought, wouldn't it be really cool to take that as a challenge, just to sort of lift people's spirits, but take these crazy and I think challenges that she really meant in all seriousness. Why don't you wash your child's hair in spent champagne? Because everyone has spent champagne, and a child with golden locks whose hair needs washing. Why don't you just use that? I thought that would be really fun to explore those challenges as a sewist, as a sewer, as a seamstress, as a tailor, and, see where that takes us. How can we update those challenges, and how can we use them as people who create ourselves?
Yes, I think that's a wonderful approach. You're going to be able to make such creative and interesting ideas flow from that. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
If you enjoy Sewing with Threads, then you'll love the Threads Insider membership. You'll get home delivery of the print magazine, as well as access to every back issue of Threads in our online archive. Plus, all of the videos, tutorial posts, projects, and pattern templates on our website. Visit threadsmagazine.com/insider to learn more. Marcy, could you tell us about some of your favorite sewing projects over the years?
I think my favorite projects are the ones that my parents and my mom in particular love the best. Because I said before that I got a lot of my love for fashion from my grandmother, but I got a lot of my love for this wild Technicolor way that I dress from my parents, because they grew up, come from a mixed background. They always told my brother and me that we needed to celebrate our differences and not shy away from who we are. And that was hard for me because I was shy. I was really, really shy as a kid. And my clothing was the way that I was able to be out there in the world as the person that I felt I was inside. And so my mother would get really excited for me to come down the stairs every morning in whatever crazy outfit I put together with the polka dots and I used to use tulle ribbon for shoelaces and paint stars and lightning bolts on my face. And so she would get really excited about that. So when she loves an outfit that I've made, I know I've hit it. I know, well, that's quintessential me when I've hit that. And that would be I think my favorite is my pizza birthday dress, which is my mom's favorite. I call it pizza because I told Rob I started planning for my birthday about right after Christmas, because my birthday's in the summer and you need to have enough lead time really to get excited, about your birthday. And so I said, listen, I'm making a dress for my birthday. And he replied, so get ready. And I said, exactly, get ready. And he took me out for pizza and jazz on a super hot summer night. And I was in Oscar de la Renta silk taffeta. And it's sort of a magenta gold flocked tulle and a silk fuchsia lining and little tiny Dior bows on the shoulder. I mean, it's not a pizza dress. It's not an August dress. It was very hot. It was very sticky, and I enjoyed it so much. And that's my mom's favorite dress of mine. So I think that's probably the thing I'm most proud of.
Do you get to wear these dresses more often? Do you save them or do you keep them in circulation?
Oh, I keep them in circulation.
Oh, good.
Heavy circulation, especially my maxi dresses that I make.
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of person that sews something to wear it once. I mean, I made it. I want to wear it multiple times so multiple people can run up to me and ask me about it. And I can be loud about it. But that said, I do make a lot of things. And I firmly believe that if you sew it, the event will come. I don't look for an event and think I have to sew something fancy for that. I sew the fancy thing first in anticipation of the event that will happen.
That is very bold. I have things I've sewn that I haven't worn yet. And I thought I was going to wear them a lot and I haven't. So I have got to take a page from your book.
Well, the great thing about 2020 you can be wearing it all the time right now. I mean, there have been days here where I'm like, you know what? I'm not feeling the jeans and the t-shirt today. I think I wanna wear a maxi dress. I don't care if it's 25 degrees outside. Right now it's 70 degrees outside. It's very strange. So I'm wearing a maxi dress right now. You know, you can do whatever you want in our work from home situation. No one knows what's going on below.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Marcy, you have so much going on, and yet you're a very prolific sewer. Do you have any advice or tips, or could you tell us how you manage your time and get to be creative?
A friend of mine who I used to work on the Mood Sewing Network with, Lauren Taylor, she gave a great piece of advice, which is if you don't have a lot of time, and she hustles, she's constantly going, set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes in the morning or 20 minutes. And you have that amount of time to work on something. Timer goes off, you walk away. And you get that calming piece of sewing for the day before you have to do everything else. I would suggest that, but I have to give her credit for that idea. I would also suggest, really letting the people in your life know how important it is to you, and that if they give you that hour a day where you can just, go and sew, you're going to be much lovelier to live with. It's a win-win for everyone. Now, myself as an actress, when the business is going, which is not right now, there's actually a lot of downtime in acting. And that's part of why I can be so prolific. And during 2020, actually, now that we've started the YouTube channel, my sewing output has gone down because I'm now writing videos, editing them, doing everything that goes into making a video, which is, as you all know, a lot. And so I'm trying to find the ways to fit sewing in. I'm thinking, oh, this is what people are talking about when they ask me how I sew so much.
I was going to ask you about your videos because I've been watching them. I haven't seen them all, but I've watched some of them, and they're incredibly enjoyable. But I wondered who was doing all that editing, and even, do you have anybody behind the camera, or do you set that up and you do that all yourself? Because I can't imagine how much time it takes to do it.
I set up everything. Rob also works several jobs as well. So when he can, he'll help me set up the shot. But most of the time I'm running back and forth, sometimes crawling underneath the table that I shoot from, because the mic is actually wired to the camera. And if I go too far to the left or the right, the whole thing topples over. So I ought to get a GoPro for 2021 and stick it up on the wall so people can see what goes on behind the scenes of getting one of these ready. I mean, it's fun to do because we've both been on professional sets, and so we know about needing an A and B camera, and we know about lighting, and we can use the things that we've learned. But it's also really makes you appreciate more than we already enormously do the crew behind making something like that fly. Yeah.
And what's your release cadence like? How often do you try to release videos on your YouTube channel?
We're trying one a week, and we've been doing that. I'm going to say we started in earnest in August. The channel's been up for a year, but we put one video out. I sewed a slip stitch in a treehouse because that's what you do. And then we just sort of stopped because we were in New York. We were just too busy. And with this strange year where suddenly we have some time, and it's like, if we're not going to make it happen now, when are we going to make it happen? We started. And since August, we went from a little over 1,000 people to, I think now there's 22,000 people at the time that we're recording this watching it, which is like, what? We're surprised and happy about that, because I think we're making people smile, and that's really what we want to do. We're happy to show the world just how silly we are together. I mean, I think we're basically 15-year-old kids with each other, and that's fine with us.
Well, you are very enjoyable. And I have to say that sometimes when I watch, I feel like you have managed to combine two things that I love very much, one of which is sewing, and the other one is Amber Ruffin Says What? Have you seen that on Seth Meyers' show?
No, but I have to now.
You should watch it. Amber Says What? And it's great. She's very funny, and she's a good comedian and a writer for Seth Meyers. But there's something that you sometimes hit that when you're doing your presentations.
Well, if you're comparing us to a writer for Seth Meyers, that I take that as a huge compliment.
Oh, yes, you should. You really should.
I'm going to check that out. Thank you.
Marcy, I had heard that you had done some sewing for celebrities. Could you tell us about any of those projects and what you did?
Well, when I started sewing for myself, this was during, I guess during In the Heights, Broadway show, is when I really, I'd been sewing before that, but this was the first time I was showing up to work in my clothing. And so I would show up to what they call fight call. There's a fight in the club scene of this where everyone fake punches each other and it's slow motion, but we always had to do a practice before every show so that no one actually got punched. And all I had to do really was stand there, sort of watch everybody. And so I took that as, well, this is an opportunity to wear something on the runway every night. So I would stand there in whatever outfit I had just made, and my fellow cast members would run up and say, "Oh, did you make that one? How'd you do that one?" It got me out of my shyness with them. And word got around that I was making my own clothing. And so there were other actors and actresses who wanted things, for red carpet openings. For American Psycho, it was a short-lived Broadway production, but it was a gorgeous production. I dressed two of the actresses for that. Alice Ripley wore something that I had already made. I didn't know I was going to be dressing her, but because I was dressing Morgan Weed, one of the young starlets in it, she said, "I'd really like a dress for red carpet opening." And so I just let her have something from my closet. But Morgan actually won Best Dressed on the red carpet that night.
Wow.
And they had no idea that the dress was actually sewn by a Broadway actress because I didn't tell them. I don't know why I didn't say, "Hey guys, that by the way, I made that." I'm usually very vocal about the things that I make. But I've also worn my own creations on a lot of red carpets for the New York City Ballet, for Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. This was back when I was just starting to sew. He had taken us all to see Snakes on a Plane because that was releasing right around the time we were shooting Death Proof. And so we all got T-shirts that said Snakes on a Plane. And I took that T-shirt and refashioned it along with some other material into a short mini T-shirt dress with like flowy bits of material and rocked it with, I think, thigh-high boots.
Oh, that sounds great.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. And then, of course, I said, "Guys, Snakes on a Plane, remember?" No one got it. No one
got it.
Are you working on anything for yourself? Oh, we talked about this. You're working on your gold motorcycle jacket. Yeah. How is that coming along?
Well, it was going swimmingly until I decided that I'm so good now that I don't need directions. And so I just went merrily sewing along and realized I did need to insert half of that separating zipper in the seam on one side.
Yeah.
Because now I have no way to zip it unless I'm going to just have it on the jacket without it being encased within the fabric. Because of course I've already graded the seams and top stitched, understitched, because I was being so good in doing everything except following the directions. So I'm going to figure it out. I think that about 90% of my sewing is my stubbornness. I go into it stubborn. I think I don't need the directions, or I'm going to go this way. And then when it doesn't work out the way it should, I'm too stubborn to let it lie, and I'm going to beat it. So it will happen. It will happen.
Is there any particular technique that you'd like to learn more about or that you want to learn next?
Well, I have promised Rob a tailored blazer. So I'm going to be digging deeply into the Threads archives. Deeply. Because I think I've got all the materials that I need. I started on this about a year ago. I bought all of the supplies in the garment district right before everything went on lockdown. I mean, days before March 13th, which I think is when we first started in New York going on lockdown. And I brought all of that with me. Even though we didn't bring sweaters, I brought all of the tailoring supplies and the wool and everything else. So Rob has a dress form coming as well. And so I don't have to yank him around all the time, ask for his naked body, because people who don't sew don't realize how much you have to get naked for it. So I need to learn a lot more about tailoring, and I need to learn it quick.
I know. I'm feeling like you need a copy of Kenneth King's Smart Tailoring series.
I think I do. I love Kenneth King.
That's what I was thinking too, Carol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marcy, we'll send you a copy.
We got to get our hands on a copy and send it to you. Yeah, because I think he's got some really great techniques that are based in really classic traditional tailoring, but they're updated so they are not quite as time consuming, but they deliver a really great result. And if you know Kenneth King, you probably have met him a time or two, and he knows what he's talking about, and he usually dresses really great. So
I adore Kenneth King.
Yeah.
That hair coat that he has. I once saw him talk at Mood about working with leather, and I immediately dove into leather right after that. And there was a young woman at the talk. He unfolded his tools, on the table that he was talking about. And this young lady put her hand out and started picking up the tools. I was like, you're touching Kenneth King's tools without asking. I feel like this is a breach. This is there's a certain etiquette you have to follow. This is a guru you're touching right now. But he was wonderful about it. He was wonderful. But you did see the look across his face, like that's my okay. Just gonna let that slide. You could see it. You could see it.
Marcy, is there anybody else that you've taken classes with that you really enjoyed and learned a lot from?
A lot of my classes have been online because I guess that's sort of how we go now. I guess in the past it was possible to take them in person, but I feel like in the city, if you're not going to FIT or Parsons for classes, it's sort of harder to find those in-person classes. And as an actress, when you never know where you're going to be week to week, you can't really go, 3 months from now, I'm going to book that class that I'm definitely going to go take, because you don't know where you're going to be. I've taken online classes from Susan Kalji, her couture classes on Craftsy, which I loved. Classes from Gretchen Hirsch also. And after taking Susan's classes, I feel like she must have been a mentor to Gretchen. There are many similar techniques. I've taken a lot of classes on the Craftsy platform, actually, which was Blueprint, which was Craftsy, which is now Craftsy.
Yeah, we had a few Threads branded classes on there with some of our best instructors like Susan Kalji and Kenneth King. And we had one with Pamela Leggett too.
Yeah. Oh, and there was one, I have your Threads jacket pattern. This is about 4 or 5 years ago, but it was the pattern was advertised, by Threads. And I was like, well, I'm getting that because this is going to tell me exactly what to do. And I followed every piece of instruction and it did tell me exactly what to do. And it came out perfectly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. We do have a branded pattern line with Simplicity. So the great folks at Simplicity will come up with a design or a few designs and they ask us to approve one. And then we get a chance to include sewing tips in the instructions. And we haven't had a new one for a little while. So I'm working with them on that though. But I'm glad you had success with that pattern.
It really was such a great pattern. And I made it in a denim that was actually just denim colored, a little denim colored crop jacket. And I thought, oh, wow, look at this. When you use a shade like this, it goes with everything. You can actually wear it with more than one thing. Well, it was wonderful. I hope you guys come out with more with them because, a lot of times I think the reason I skipped some of the steps on that motorcycle jacket that I'm in is because sometimes the pattern doesn't always recommend things like understitching or stay stitching and I think, well, if you're not going to recommend that to me, I'm just going to go my own way and see what happens. And then some of the instructions you should follow. So.
Yes. I think that the pattern companies are under a lot of pressure to keep the number of tissue sheets as well as guide sheets to a minimum. And I found so often, sometimes I work on the garments for our own pattern review department, and they don't mention pressing or seam grading at all. And it's just unfortunate because it improves your results so much.
Yeah. And then when you have those better results every time, it makes you want to sew more. Yeah.
Well, actually, I think we're close to the end of our time. Marcy, it's been so great to talk to you, and I look forward to reading more of your content and continuing to work with you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be in this relationship. It's wonderful.
I know, and I recommend everybody, if you're feeling down or you're feeling like you need a little bit of sewing inspiration, go watch Marcy on her YouTube channel. Her husband is an incredibly good sport, apparently, because he wanders in and out and is helpful and is non-obstructive as far as I can see, which is nice too.
He's a very good sport. The things that happen to him in these videos, he's a very good sport. We're having a good time.
It really looks like it, and it is nice to watch. Yeah, it's really fun. And very good content, by the way. I wanted to say your 3-dimensional mask tutorial is something I'm going to have to. I was just watching it recently, and my husband has a similar nose shape to yours, and he's never liked the masks I've made so far. So I'll try that.
It fits so well. I can't take full credit for the design. I did the tweaks on it, but there wasn't an English tutorial out there, and I thought this could be helpful to people, and we just got to get people being comfortable in them. Yeah.
We'll put a link to that tutorial in the show notes for this episode. And I want to just remind all our listeners and watchers to visit threadsmagazine.com, and you can see Marcy's posts and find out about her YouTube tutorials too. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Follow Threads on social media and visit threadsmagazine.com to view show notes for this episode. While you're on the site, check out Threads Insider, our online membership with exclusive access to expert sewing techniques. Until next time, keep on sewing with Threads.